The story begins with a woman named Shanice waking up with her husband Logan and their newly born daughter Mariah. Shanice is a lawyer by profession, and it appears that it's her first day back at work after taking maternity leave to take care of her daughter. On her way to work, Shanice is pulled from her car by a mysterious green light and thrown into Bell Park. In the future, several other people from different eras are also seen dropping in the same way, which perplexes them all. Some of these people have been missing for years, while others appear to have been thrown into the time stream arbitrarily later. The police transport everyone to a hotel to be quarantined. They demand that the police release them, but the police claim to have interviewed them first. On the other hand, we are introduced to a parole officer named Keisha Taylor who has been assigned to the same case. In order to enter the hotel, she gains access via her girlfriend, Agent Tanner of the Department of Homeland Security. She is tasked with helping Jarrell Mateo, a sympathetic social worker, interview the people who would have shown up out of nowhere. She interviews Keisha, who is pretty bullish, and argues with Jarrell for taking down the plexiglass. Following this, in the two interviews, the people who would have shown up, one of the newly appearing individuals is a young man named Hayden, who does not speak to them at all. Outside of the interviews, there are more strange occurrences, as every individual seems to have some hidden powers in themselves, such as a woman named Claudette, who is able to heal her wounds very quickly. During the interview, Shanice learns that the investigation might take a week or more, causing her to be worried for her little daughter. Shortly after, she comes across a teen girl named Mildred, to whom she expresses her concern for her daughter. After hearing this, Mildred keeps her gaze on the security camera, which she is able to turn away, then focuses on the locked door and miraculously opens it, allowing Shanice to escape before leaving. Shanice thanks her and promises to return to get her out of there. Shanice boards a bus and recalls her first encounter with Logan at a protest. A short time later, she arrives home only to discover that someone else lives there, with the quarantine authorities hot on her tail. Shanice flees to Mrs. Grover, a woman whom she recognizes from her youth. Jarrell notices her, but being an honest social worker, he does not report her to the authorities inside. Shanice tries to call every number she can think of in an attempt to contact her husband, but in vain. Mrs. Grover then makes herself rest before continuing her search for her family. The following morning, Jarrell confronts Shanice and agrees to take her to see her family in exchange for her willingness to return to the quarantine. After that, when she agrees, Jarrell drives her to her family's place, where she's surprised to see Mariah all grown up. She learns that it has been 16 years since she got separated from her family. She also learns that Logan has remarried another woman who has been raising Mariah for the past 9 years. As a result of this, she is devastated. She then claims that she never intended to leave and that even though they believe she's been gone for years, it's only been 2 days for her. Sadly, the reunion is cut short when cops arrive and arrest her before she is taken away. Logan tells her that he found her note, but she denies it upon getting back to the hotel. Shanice expresses her sorrow to Andre, a doctor from World War I. She spills out her postpartum depression and how she has missed all of her daughter's firsts. She also tells him about her husband's new family, of which she is not a part in the next scene. Keisha and Jarrell are seen conversing at a bar. During this, Jarrell reveals his missing brother Manny and how he still has hope after all those people who appeared earlier. Hearing this, Keisha promises to use her connections to assist him in finding his brother. At the same time, they learn that 4,400 people have appeared from different times and places. Later that day at the hotel, Keisha is approached by Hayden, who finally speaks up and gives her a message to pass along to Jarrell. Manny is all right and is sorry for everything. Keisha asks him how he knows about Jarrell's brother, but he's unable to explain. The next day, Keisha and Jarrell conduct the next interview. They call a priest named Reverend One among the 4,400 returnees and accuse him of leaking information to the press. He denies it and says that he has to go see her girlfriend and child. Keisha offers to locate them only if he tells her everything he knows about how he got here, but he later learns nothing. Keisha and Jarrell meet with Soraya, a tech expert, who shows them the footage just before Shanice flees from the footage. Soraya deduces that Shanice was not prepared to escape, but she took the chance when the door opened itself. Shanice is still in the hot seat after her escape, with Keisha questioning her on how she managed to escape with Shanice's radio silenced. Keisha takes a different approach, persuading Logan to try to talk to her instead. Not long after Logan comes to meet Shanice, he doesn't get any solid intelligence from her, but the two share a sweet moment, reminiscing about the past when she was pregnant. However, Logan is clearly upset that Shanice didn't seek help when she was struggling with postpartum depression. Shanice pleads with Logan to let her see their daughter, but he doesn't think it's the right time. However, It's not up to Logan because Mariah has clearly inherited her mother's cunning and ability to sneak around. After eavesdropping on their conversation, Mariah becomes enraged at her father for keeping her away from her biological mother. Keisha realizes the Reverend is planning a campaign among the returnees to return to Belle Isle, but she admonishes him, believing he's only doing it for personal gain and not to help anyone else. The Reverend claims he can't know what will happen, but at least they will be able to get out for a while. Meanwhile, one of the returnees, named Noah, leads Hayden and Mildred to a locked-up stash of best-time bars. Mildred uses her psychic abilities to unlock the container and take out the boxes of bars. Noah begins to sing the best-time bars jingle, but at the same time, a security guard appears in a trance at the sight of snacks. When Noah stops singing, the guard chastises them for stealing. Mildred gets Noah to continue singing, realizing that he possesses the power of manipulation. When he sings in the morning, a security guard counts the returnees. Claudette starts singing with Shanice. The Reverend and Andre joined the guards and ordered them to shut their mouths, but they wouldn't stop. Claudette attempts to teach Noah the song, but before he can sing, one of the security guards pushes him, causing his head to hit the chair. Andre, being a doctor, goes to examine Noah's wound, but the guards take him to his room. Later, the Reverend goes to check on Noah, who inadvertently mentions that his singing may have something to do with why he's here. The Reverend notices this, but Noah quickly changes the subject and expresses his desire to return to Belle Isle, hoping to return home. The Reverend says he'll do his best to get him there, but only if he's up to date on all the new information, particularly the singing. The flashback shows the Reverend attempting to convince his father to accept Darlene as his wife, but his father is opposed to her joining the church. His father emphasizes the importance of preaching about hope to the congregation, as it's essential for their growth and a crucial part of God's plan. When he fails to persuade his father, he decides to abandon his family and sell his father's valuable ring to begin a new life with Darlene, but before that, he takes this as a sign that a life with Darlene wasn't in the cards for him and that preaching is his true calling at present. Keisha meets Jarrell at a restaurant and informs him of her decision to take the returnees back to Belle Isle. The two then plan to transport their returnees when the guards are gone with Agent Tanner that night. They gather the returnees to take them to Belle Isle, but Hayden decides to stay behind for some reason. Upon arriving there, the Reverend starts to lead a prayer while Noah begins singing a lullaby, which leads Keisha and Jarrell to fall asleep. The Reverend then gives a brief speech to the returnees, explaining that they were brought together for a reason and that they all possess extraordinary powers as a result. He urges everyone to look within themselves and harness their gifts afterward. Keisha and Jarrell sit in a bar, perplexed by what happened earlier. A few moments later, Soraya shows up, offering to help them. Keisha then displays her body cam footage, which shows them falling asleep miraculously the same night at the hotel. Jarrell notices the beginning of a clock drawn on the wall, a game he used to play with his brother. The next number on the clock drawing is then filled in by him shortly after he asks Soraya if anyone has passed through the halls, but she has no idea. Sunny enters a room only to find her daughter, who appears to have snuck in with the help of Hayden. She expresses that she wanted to meet her, and the two embrace while doing so. Shanice has a vision of her daughter's thoughts, which shocks her. Shanice then explains that she would never leave on purpose, but when she confirms writing the note, Mariah becomes upset and leaves. In the next scene, we're introduced to another returnee named LaDonna, who's seen sitting with Hayden and Mildred, impressed by their powers. She explains what reality television shows are and how she used to be a TV star. She goes on to say that she wanted to study computer science in college, but her mother insisted that she focus on building her brand and staying in front of the camera to maintain fame. Because of the stress, she drank excessively until the green light suckered her. The following day, Soraya, Jarrell and Keisha attend a press event planning meeting. Agent Tanner introduces them to Carla from the mayor's office, who informs them of what they're permitted to say and says, according to her, that they'll need to find an ambassador among the 4,400 to put a face to the situation. Meanwhile, Jarrell is still grappling with his brother's absence and the clocks drawn on the wall. Though Manny isn't officially a part of the 4,400, he thinks he's there somehow. Carla, who happens to be his former co-worker, encourages Jarrell to move on, claiming that Manny would not want him to go on a wild goose chase and lose another job elsewhere. Dr. Andre examines Noah's injuries, during which Noah reveals that he is transgender and has not been receiving the medication he requires as a doctor from the previous generation. Andre is surprised to hear this, but he finds the concept remarkable and promises to procure the medicine. The doctor then goes to Daryl and requests updated medical texts and training, as well as Noah's medication, which he agrees to, and Jarrell provides him with some medical books that will belong to Manny later on. Keisha and Jarrell interview the returnees for the position of ambassador after learning that the authorities require one of them to act as an ambassador for the 4,400. LaDonna volunteers with the intention of using it to force them to return her phone the day before the press conference. The authorities make Noah leave to get the medication so that the reporters don't see what they've done to his face on the day of the press event. LaDonna handles the news reporters by showing them around the place where they've been kept. After this, she invites Jarrell to add some more details about the 4,400. Jarrell, who is troubled by the complicated ongoing situation, goes off script and complains about how the returnees are being treated unfairly, cuts him off and directs the press's attention somewhere else. After the event, LaDonna meets with Agent Tanner to ask for her phone, but Tanner still refuses to return it, claiming it to be government property. This prompts LaDonna to leave in rage. Just then, she runs into Soraya, who shows her the pilot for the show she used to do. She also claims to be a longtime fan. LaDonna fan, the show triggers a memory for her. She was falling off a balcony when the green light struck. Shaken by this revelation, she confides in Andre, who tells her that it's a good thing the light saved her and that it would be a shame for the world to lose someone of her intellect at home. Mariah eventually lets it slip that she went to see Shanice in a conversation with her dad, saying that the meeting was confusing for her because she didn't know what to call her. She demands that she show her the letter Shanice had left for him. Following this, the two proceeded to Shanice's hotel room to talk about it. When having the letter read back to her by Mariah, Shanice breaks down, saying she didn't think anyone would ever read it. She admits that she had a difficult time, but she wants to start over. The mother and daughter finally share an emotional hug in the midst of all this. Hayden's birthday provides some cause for celebration, though he doesn't usually like to mark the occasion as there's not much to celebrate when one's locked up. The crew is adamant about making it memorable, and it ends up being a great success with LaDonna using her newfound powers to light a candle on a lobster for Hayden. Later, Mildred kisses him before playing chess with her, which makes him realize that birthdays aren't all bad at night. Mariah receives a message from LaDonna asking her to share a video with the public. It appears to be footage of the poor treatment, detention, and abuse that the returnees have been enduring. Upon seeing this, she immediately posted it online.